Welcome back to Channel 2 News. Yesterday, some baseball surprises with big wins. Let's start with... Last night, the Tigers beat the Indians. No sweep in the Tigers. Very sad. Bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded. Carlos Santana up to bat. He hit it to shortstop and they threw it to first. End of game. 5-3, Detroit. Now it's off to Miami for the All-Star game tomorrow. The home run derby is tonight at 8. I brought in the person who knows MLB more than anyone I know, and that person is my dad. Welcome, Dad.
Thank you.
He really knows MLB, so I brought him in the show. Welcome to Channel 2 News.
Thank you very much, Brad.
Who do you think will win the home run derby?
It's hard to say. Rarely do people repeat the home run derby, it seems, from year to year. I think that the Giancarlo Stanton seems to be likely simply because he's been successful the last couple of years.
And he's number one?
He's considered to be the number one candidate for it because he won last year, I believe. But for the most part, it is a type of competition that is not really based upon anything scientific. It's one person on one night, just as any hitter on any night can do better or worse. Same thing with the home run derby. So it's extremely hard to predict who's going to do well.
Also, there was, I believe it was, another player. He got 27 this year, and Stanton got 21.
Yeah, Bryce Harper, I think, is usually a person who's considered to be one of the more popular.
He's not in this, though.
He's not in this inning?
Surprisingly.
No, that's surprising.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of people, it could be because of injury, because they feel they need a rest. There's a lot of reasons why people don't participate. The thing is that baseball wants major stars to take part in their home run derby, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the best hitters are actually doing it.
Yeah.
So,
I understand.
And it's a show, so they're interested in distance, and if you watch it, you'll see how they show distance. But the best home run hitter currently on the Indians, Jose Ramirez, doesn't hit long bombs. He just hits them to the first 2 or 3 rows of,
But he does it a lot.
But he hits home runs a lot.
Yes.
But he's not showy, so he's not going to be part of it.
So that's why he's not?
Probably.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a specific person Cleveland fans want someone to win the home run derby?
No, this is an individual competition versus anything associated with the team. If we're Cleveland fans, we want anyone on any team that we might face the playoffs to injure themselves during the home run derby, so we don't have to face them in the playoffs. That might be about it. Otherwise, this is not really a team competition. It's an individual effort, so there's no rooting for teams in this sense at all.
But is there someone we don't want to win besides NL?
In that sense, it's just players. They're usually players who we don't want to win are the players that
our biggest rivals.
Yeah, play against the Indians.
Yeah, so the Yankees would we like?
Oh, yeah, just because they're American League, you could like them, but again, it doesn't have any impact whatsoever.
So we're not gonna root for Rockies or anything.
Yeah, no.
There's one Rocky.
Yeah, it'd be as if in it's like in NBA they have the 3-point contest.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no investment in it. It's personal achievement.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you think the All-Star game will be interesting this year?
Actually, I think it's going to be less interesting.
How come?
This year, whoever wins the All-Star game, the way it's been for the past 15 years, I think, whoever wins the All-Star game, that team would have home field advantage in the World Series. So the reason
What do you mean?
That if the American League won the All-Star game, whatever American League team went to the World Series, they would have home field advantage.
First game?
For the World Series.
Wait, sorry. Is it for most of the time or just first game?
No, they would play at least, they would have home field advantage. The first 2 games with the winner, the next 2 games the loser, and then 1-1-1. So in that sense, the home team gets to have more games at home. American League won last year, so that's why Cleveland got to have the first 2 games here. And Game 7 was here. As a result of that. Now they've stopped doing it that way. I think because people don't like the fact that the World Series potentially is dictated by players who have no investment in the World Series. And so instead what they've done this year for the first time is simply say that the winner, players on the winning teams get $20,000 each.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's nice. The argument, of course, that these people are already multimillionaires many times over, so why did it, what's $20,000
It's just not good for the fans.
Yeah, what's $20,000 going to mean to them unless they all donate it to their favorite charity?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But that's about it. So maybe the charities will benefit most from it. But does that mean that they're actually playing? I mean, I say that because of it being interesting. I'm not sure that it's going to make the players any more invested in what the result of the game is.
So you think it's going to be less interesting?
I think potentially it could be, because I don't think the players necessarily is willing to. Like, for example, the Indians have 4 players going to the All-Star game. The Astros have 4, or 4 or 5. Those two teams are one of those two teams is very likely to make the World Series. Therefore, you would think those players, if you were playing for home field advantage in the World Series, that's 8 players on that one team that would have a really big interest in trying to win that game because they know they might get there. And that means more to them than I think $20,000 would for anywhere else. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who has the best players? Which team, AL or NL?
I'd actually say the National League. I think the American League has the better teams. I think that actually the more talented players are actually, I would say, in the National League.
Huh.
So, yeah, I think they've got better individual pitchers that are on terrible teams. Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers, for example. And Bryce Harper for the Nationals. They're on bad teams, but individual players, I think they have better talent in total.
Do you know any better hitters in that team? Or just pitchers?
Not really. It's the pitchers that stand out. I mean, a lot of the All-Star game, if it's pitching, it's very pitching-oriented. The one game that I went to way back in 1986, the All-Star game I went to in 1986.
Where was it?
It was in Houston.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Good old Tom Robinson took me.
Who's that?
It was a family friend because my dad didn't want to go, so he took me. And it was one of the most boring games I've ever seen. Because it was
your dad just not interested?
Yeah. And it was great pitching because that's the best pitchers. And so therefore people didn't hit. So the score was like 3-2. It wasn't very exciting at all. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are some players we really want to watch besides the Indians?
I want to see how the Astros players do.
Is Jose going? Altuve?
Yeah, Altuve and Springer is going to be there.
Is what's his name? Correa?
Yeah, Correa's going to be there. Because I'd be interested to see how they do and how because they're all so young as well. I'm interested to see how they thrive in the moment, and I think it kind of can be a foretelling sign as for how they handle the big moments of going to the playoffs, because it'll be the first time they've probably made the playoffs.
Are they American or national?
They're American. Houston's now American.
I thought so.
Wait,
they were national last year?
They were national 2 or 3 years ago, and then they moved over. And so in doing so, that'll be interesting to see, because that's, I think, as I said, going to be, I think, the Indians' main competition.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how they handle the big spotlights.
And I mean, of course we did sweep them when we went to Houston.
But we play them again later, so.
Yeah. How about we're going to do the same thing?
I'm hopeful. But if the Indians don't don't make it to the World Series, I hope it's the Astros.
Mm-hmm. Because you're from Houston.
They're a good team. They're a really good team. They have the best record in baseball.
Yeah.
By far.
Wait, they do?
Are
we better than them or no?
Record-wise, no.
Oh.
The Astros are. That's what was surprising, that we swept them in Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in first place in their division, and then the next place team was like 12 games back. I mean, like, it's basically over in that division. The race is pretty much already over. They're that far ahead. So yeah, they've won 60 games. They played 80, and so they've won. They're like 16-20. They're roughly. They're an incredible team.
How far? Who the team that's behind us? How far are they far behind?
2.5.
2.5. Oh.
Yeah. Great. I think the teams in the West that Houston's playing against aren't nearly as good as potentially some of the other teams that we're playing. But still, Houston's just really, really good. They're fun to. I mean, for example, how many runs did they score against Toronto in their last game? 19 runs.
19-1.
Yeah, they score a lot. They're also in a ballpark at home that allows them to score a lot of runs. But it'll be interesting to see when we get to the playoffs, when pitching is more dominant and defense is more crucial, how they play. But we'll see when we get there.
Is there any NL we should watch, like dangerous else that we have that we really should watch?
No.
No?
I think the winner's going to come out of the American League.
You think?
Yep.
Nice. Do you think Jose Ramirez is going to do any good?
Jose Ramirez seems to be just on fire. I think there's no stopping Jose Ramirez.
Yeah. He's just getting a home run every single game.
He's having a year, and what's really interesting is that he just signed a contract with the Indians after last season, a 4-year contract.
4 year?
Yeah,
Nice.
And usually that's actually when their productivity goes down because they got their big contract, and he's just shot up. So it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So.
What was I gonna say? Is Jose? How much did he get a year?
I don't know.
Do you know? Is it like tons?
It's not tons, but it's probably in the $6 million, $7 million a year range.
Nice.
So again, $20,000 might not mean that much to him. So.
Wow.
There you go.
So no players that we should watch. Hey, it's gonna go on.
You're watch Clayton Kershaw pitch just because he's the best pitcher I think in baseball. Period. But I think it's much more interesting to see him. I think it's much more interesting to see him in a game though than in an All-Star game because I don't think he's necessarily. It's personal recognition. When they're fighting for the team for positioning, that has a lot more investment. So here they're not going to throw their hardest. They're not going to do their best.
Is Jose Ramirez? Do you think he's going to get a home run in this game? Because they have amazing pitchers. But do you think he's going to hit it?
This is the type of game. You can't tell with this type of game.
Yeah.
It's just all luck and happenstance, and again, the pitchers aren't throwing their hardest because they're not going to injure themselves.
Yeah.
And because they're not throwing their hardest, hitters can get more hits. Now that's kind of the way it's tended. It's kind of like the NBA All-Star game where the score is like 140 to 100. No one plays defense in that type of game. Here, the pitching, no one really gives their best effort. They just get out there so the fans can see them and then get out of the way for the hitters.
Okay. So final question, kind of. Do you think other players will do good? Like, do you think Miller's going to pitch? Do you think our other two people?
If Miller pitches, he may pitch for half an inning.
Half an inning.
Because the thing that managers try to be considerate of is the fact that it's a national game.
So they want to keep going.
They want everybody to be seen so they can say, yeah, I pitched in the All-Star game, even if it's just to face one batter, that type of junk. And so in that sense, and so that's why I said, Tio Francona's not managing because he's sick. Or actually, he's not sick, he's out of the hospital, he's resting. It doesn't matter, it's just not a matter. You're not really, especially from the manager's point of view, if we were playing for home field advantage in the World Series, Tito would probably have managed that game very differently.
Who?
The manager for Tito Francona, if he was managing, and if the game was for home field advantage, he probably would have put a lot more effort into managing. But because this one, the players, everyone gets $20,000, it's like, oh, who really cares? They all got a free trip out of Miami to it, so what does it matter?
Yeah.
So there you go. Still, the same. It needs to be said, I think, overall, that still this is not NHL. Because NHL is awesome.
NHL's awesome. But, what do you think our other two hitters will do? Brantley and...
Lindor.
Lindor's not doing that good lately, is he?
No, but he's young. And he's exciting. And who knows, he'll get easier pitches probably this evening, so we'll see.
He's the people when he comes out on the plate lately. He comes onto the plate and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's Lindor!" He strikes out.
He strikes out.
That's what's happening a lot for him.
Well, hopefully that's why a lot of people see this as a time they can take a break, and then because after they have a game on Tuesday and they don't play again until Friday, and so they get kind of a break and they can rest.
They get a large break and a trip to
apparently
Miami.
Yeah, there's a big mentality supposedly for a lot of these players that they can reset, and like half the season's over and now they start anew, and so like Jason Kipnis, who we really rely on to be good for the Indians, is not doing very well in the first half. He said, that he's really looking forward to this break because he wants to get away, clear his mind, and come back and start fresh. And they just believe they can do that. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that'll be very interesting All-Star game.
Indeed.
Thanks for coming.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Go Indians. Go Tribe.
Go Tribe.